Hey guys, welcome to the Lunge and Lift podcast. Today we are joined by a very special guest, Miss Courtney Pruce. Courtney's been a great friend of both of us for a good few years from WIT now, and she's doing some amazing things in the fitness community with her partner Tom Bliss, a previous show guest. And today we have a really enjoyable chat about all things fitness industry, her journey from dance through bodybuilding, the dark side of bodybuilding and contest prep, and her journey through functional fitness. And I think she's got some really inspiring messages on how to find that balance where you're getting everything you want out of your training, but you're not sacrificing too much in real life and life outside of the gym, which really resonated with both of us. But before we get into it, today's episode is sponsored by the Training Stimulus. We are now open for applications for our 2021 mentorship intake, where we'll be going through all things movement mechanics. The mentorship will prepare you to be able to do your own muscle imbalance assessments and also learn how to integrate movement mechanics into your normal training to get the most out of it and not waste loads of time with standard mobility and stability exercises. Please check out the link below in the episode description if you want to know more information.
Let's get into it.
Courtney, welcome to the show. How are you?
Hi, I'm great, thank you. Thanks for having me. I'm excited for this one.
Our pleasure. And for the listeners who might not know who you are, please could you give us a quick intro into who you are and what you're up to?
Yeah, of course. So I'm Courtney, and I'm a personal trainer and online coach, and co-founder of The Ultimate You, which is an online training program platform that I co-founded with my partner, Tom Bliss.
Yeah, Tom, the former show guest. So please check back. You had a great chat with him before. So you've got some competition for who's got the best chat in the couple. Could you tell us about your route into fitness? Because it was quite an interesting journey in terms of dance and a bit of bodybuilding. What's the story there?
Yeah, so I started dancing when I was 16, quite late. So did kind of an intensive couple of years to get into performing arts school. And then did 4 years there, and I think I just naturally got into fitness in my second year. Obviously, the closer you get to graduating, the more about your body and how you can stand out comes into play. And I guess I just figured out, that if everyone's as talented as me, how else am I going to stand out? So naturally veered into the gym, had no really real clue what I was doing for a year, just did cardio and stretching, as you do. And then eventually got myself into bodybuilding. So that was like my third year, and I just started kind of documenting my journey on Instagram at the time. So I think that was like 2014. And then, when I graduated, I worked in the industry for a little bit, quickly decided that I absolutely hated it. It wasn't for me. And I, at the time, my Instagram following had grown. So I took much more of an interest, kind of, self-educated, was reading lots all the time. My training was slowly changing, becoming more structured. And then when I left the industry, I just decided that I'd go and do my personal trainer course. Obviously, I'd gathered a following online as well, and I knew that I kind of had a responsibility to ensure I was, qualifying, giving out information. And the minute I finished my course, I just, went straight into training, never looked back.
Amazing. One thing I wanted to pick up on there was, what was it about training you were hoping to achieve that would make you stand out in dancing? Because it was interesting you thought that the gym would help you there, and you started with cardio and stretching. What was the link there?
Yeah, well, I was so afraid. I was, classic. It was a male-dominated environment. I literally swear I was the only one in the gym. And just like everyone, I just reverted to like what I felt comfortable with, running on the treadmill and stretching, which is what I did all day at dance school, like cardio. So yeah, I guess it was definitely aesthetic focused. Obviously, it's a lot about what you look like, skimpy outfits. The times have changed a lot since then, like 7-8 years ago. Back then it was about, being small. And I guess I just wanted to be toned. They throw that word around a lot, toned, tone your muscles, go to the gym, and they'd get you doing like the arm circles and things like that, which obviously don't do anything for you. So yeah, I just wanted to kind of look the best. Like I thought, not many people were doing what I was doing. People used to actually make fun of me, like going to the gym before 12-hour rehearsal days and stuff, because they were like, "Oh, classic Courtney going to the gym again." But I just thought, if I can get any extra edge in terms of aesthetics, or just someone noticing, wow, she's in great shape, it would help me when there's a stage of 120 people and there's only 20 slots to get an agent at the end of it. But in my third year, my teachers did start to notice not just how I looked, but my strength. A lot of people can be flexible and not strong, and I was never a flexible girl. I had to work hard to get my leg up, and I was never naturally flexible in terms of like my box splits. Like my hips just don't move that way, so I was just stronger. I was being able to whack my leg up there and hold it, and teachers were noticing and actually pulled me up on stage, much to everyone else, making fun of me. They were like, everyone needs to be going to the gym. Look at Courtney, she looks really strong and powerful. And I guess that's where I realised, aesthetics aside, that actually it is incredibly beneficial to support what I was doing way beyond just what I look like.
It is amazing that it's not even that long ago that how much of a difference in like how the industry was. Because obviously CrossFit changed massively the way women train in general, and being able to then be a lot more, as we see now and call it like say functional training, and doing a lot of strength training and stuff. But you're saying like 7 years ago, basically, it's not that long ago. And like to see that like the norm was still treadmill, and which I know is still quite a strong driver for a lot of women, because it's, as you say, I think it's that comfort level of, all right, what can I do that doesn't make me stand out? So I'm going to do what everyone else is doing. And as you say, like what you knew at the time of being stretching and cardio is what you did at the gym. So you felt confident doing it and in front of other people, so because you knew that was what you're doing. How did you get into competing? Because you've competed, haven't you, in bodybuilding or in physique?
Yeah, I did. That was definitely a one and done for me. So I think I started working with people in person for about a year and then moved online. So I obviously knew the value of working with someone face to face before just, going online. And during the online time, that's when I had a lot of inquiries about, competing and stuff. And, I considered, I was working with many women just like day-to-day dieting, just, wanted to lose a few kilos, feel better about themselves. And then I had people asking about competing. And I think one of the most important things for me as a coach is having empathy, practicing what you preach, and having put yourself through it before you put someone else through it. So I thought I'll do one, see what it's all about. I was quite small anyway. I didn't have that much to lose. I think I lost like 4 kilos over the whole 8 weeks, because I was, already quite small. So it wasn't as like horrific as other people's competing stories. But yeah, I just quickly realized that that's not for me. I didn't get anything out of it that was worth what you had to do to get there, if that makes sense. So it didn't give me anything. The only thing I really enjoyed was being on stage and obviously, giving a little shimmy, because I hadn't danced for a couple of years by that point. But yeah, I just was like, I'm not going to coach. I know how to coach people to lose weight, but obviously that is taking it to a little bit of an extreme depending on the client. And I just refused to kind of put someone through it if I hadn't been through it, because how can you empathize with your client otherwise?
No, that's exactly how I feel in it. And when I competed in bodybuilding, I didn't quite do like such a short prep as you. I had 6 months to lose a lot of weight, but wow. Let's just say I did it, and it was one hell of an experience. And it was that thing of, it wasn't just of being able to then take other people to the stage. It was that thing of the struggles that you're going to go through competing in bodybuilding, whether they're going to be the same, whether you're trying to lose 2 kilos or whether you're going to try and lose 10 kilos. It's all the same sort of struggles. You have the same cravings, you have the same things. And it was being that bit younger at the time when I did it as well. I didn't have many other things in life that was stopping me, like pulling me away from it. So I was able to give the focus towards it. And it was funny because then at the time, when I thought, okay, this is how to do it. And then I see clients that like at the time they're like being city workers and stuff. And I was like, how can you not just follow this, like these macros or something like that? And at the time, even though I'd then done the diet, but got down there and known the struggles, I was like, why can't you do that? And it took me a while to actually then understand that the priorities of other people aren't always going to be I want to get in shape. That's the byproduct. They want to kind of, obviously they want to get in shape, but they also still want a beer. So
Yeah.
Courtney, you're quite lucky in that you didn't have so much to lose. But one thing that a lot of female competitors in bodybuilding talk about is how it can be damaging for their hormones. Have you experienced that with any of your clients? And I guess, what are your thoughts on competing as a goal for the average person in terms of the trade-off between potential health costs versus what you actually get out of it? Because I think you're very lucky to have just 4 kilos to lose, and it sounds like it was quite
Yeah.
smooth and successful. But for a lot of girls, I think they set themselves really ambitious targets, and I'd just like to hear your thoughts on it.
I mean, since then, I don't work with anyone who wants to go on stage, and I don't really advocate it. Not that there's anything against it, but I think I would only recommend it for people who genuinely intend to pursue it as a career, because there's a lot involved, a lot of sacrifice. Even if you don't have kind of hints of disordered eating, it can sometimes lead to that. And it's not the prep, it's post show is the hardest. I have a great relationship with myself, and even I found myself thinking, hints of, do I want to do it again? And you get used to your body at such an attainable size. And I think females, especially when hormones come into play, we know that females, generally speaking, have a harder time with body image sometimes when it's around their cycle, because obviously their hormones are out of our control. And I think if you are at a stage where you're so tiny, stage lean, and then, you have to, gain healthy fat again and relatively quickly, it can be hard because you get used to your body looking a certain way, and then, going up in dress sizes again, which is totally normal and totally necessary. That can cause havoc for people. So I think a lot of people as well, in my experience I've turned away clients who want to coach be coached for stage after speaking to them, because the reasons for competing, I personally didn't advocate, i.e. it's not going to fix binge eating. It's not worth it if it's just for a photo shoot, because you don't have to get that lean for a photo shoot. You don't have to get that lean for a holiday. And I think I've had clients start and realize they stop like 4 or 5 kilos away from stage lean, because they think stage lean from social media and seeing things online is, like holiday lean. It's not at all. It's taking it that whole, 6 weeks further, and in a really like aggressive way for some people. And I just think it's not necessary. And I think I think it's a bit controversial to say right now, in the sense that there's obviously the anti-diet movement, which I think is great and has its purpose. But I do think it stopped people being happy to say, hey, I do want to lose kilos. I do want to lean up a bit. And I think people feel that it's a little bit frowned upon right now, because obviously I think with social media movements, they're great, but they do tend to kind of go one way, and it leaves kind of no room for the balancing argument. So yeah, I think it's better now for females, but I do think that there are still some people that think that that's a normal diet, and that's a normal body fat percentage to get to, which it's not. And I think people don't understand that, especially people that are taking this seriously and competing, unless they're doing back-to-back shows, they're straight in that reverse. It's not about not reverse. It's not about slowly reversing your calories. You're straight back to getting your maintenance calories in and, getting your body healthy again. I personally didn't lose my cycle or anything like that. I didn't have any issues. But obviously I have known that to be a case for a lot of females, aside from getting stage lean, actually just in like general dieting as well.
So just out of curiosity with yourself, so since it wasn't the toughest of times for yourself to kind of get down to that level of leanness, when you was that lean, is that now your baseline? Because something that I struggled with, and I still struggle with to this day really, is when I competed bodybuilding, I was 85 kilos. So I currently sit around 100 kilos, right? That's 15 kilos. But when I went to IB for 1 year, I got down to about 92 kilos, and I was what I would say holiday lean, and I looked pretty good. But in my head, even to this day, I still now relate back to being so lean. And even though I don't necessarily have an eating disorder, I have a thing of whenever I see food, I'm like, fuck it, I'm gonna eat it. But that's just the way I am. But it's because I have this vision in my head of what I can look like. But again, like when I also look at when we opened WIT, like the shape that I was in there, because again, the priorities, my priorities are slightly different and stuff, and my what I perceived to be normal to myself was a different way of looking at it. So just wondered, do you still have any lagging from that, or have you completely kind of like that's bookmarked there? I've now moved on. I'm now a functionally fit female.
I've definitely moved on, and that is solely down to making my way into functional fitness, CrossFit. So that's definitely a thing of the past, but I did have those times before I started. So I did start, I came to WIT, for example, for my first session in May 2018. So up until that point, I guess if I did see a photo, it'd be like, oh God, I was so tiny, I was so lean. But for me now, I know that, like that is just totally unattainable, unnecessary. It doesn't benefit my life or my goals in any way. And it's not the norm. And I think the problem is with competing, as I said, it becomes the norm when you're at that body fat, and you have to switch yourself out of it. And I think being a coach really helps with that, as opposed to being an everyday city worker who's done it. I think that is a lot harder because you don't have that coach's hat to put on. But I definitely think that, like, looking at myself now for what I want to do, I can't really, obviously it's okay to like want to look good, but I can't remember the last time in the last 3 years since starting functional fitness that I genuinely cared to a point where I ever thought I needed to diet or anything like that, because, I feel like obviously I'm kind of maintaining where I'm at, but, I have a lot more muscle, I move better, I'm fitter, and it's just not something for me that I would ever look back and think, oh God, I missed that just because of where I'm at right now.
Yeah, I love that. And I think the fact that you're now you've geared your training towards performance. So rather than measuring yourself based off how you look, you measure yourself based on how you're performing. And that can obviously change from week to week, month to month and stuff like that. So once you kind of get that transition, I think it's an easier thing to focus on. But I do think, as I say, like, especially when I think men and female, but it definitely is stronger in the female side, where I think once you have this perception of what you can look like, if you solely focus on that and then compare what everyone else still looks like, and you're looking at, and you say you look on Instagram, you look at so many other females in great shape, you're just like, I want to look like that, and that person not necessarily realizing that they're actually just, as you say, like training for performance. You're training and you're eating to fuel a goal rather than not eating to lose some weight. So it's a really nice thing to hear that you've kind of like your mindset shifted to away from such a aesthetic.
Yeah,
reason.
I think it's amazing, and it's a really good message for people to hear, that focusing on like looking at yourself today and what you want today and where you want to go with your body is so much more it's a much more powerful mindset than basically hanging on to your former glories. And I think a lot of people are prone to that in fitness, whether it's aesthetically they're in the best shape of their life when they're on stage, or even strength and performance wise when people have been through massive training blocks and they've got these numbers that they hit, and they're comparing themselves today to themselves years ago when they were a completely different person, their lifestyle was completely different, and they were younger, obviously. So I think there's two things really. It's like comparing yourself to former glories, but also being aware of the trade-offs. Something I say to a lot of my clients who want to get bigger or leaner. It's basically, you can be as big or as lean as you want, but there is always a big price to pay. And the bigger and leaner you want to be, the bigger the price is. And I think from my own experience recently, not to bring it all about me, but in lockdown, because we weren't going out, there was no meals out, there was no drinking, it was quite easy to live a healthy life. I naturally got into probably the best shape of my life just because there was nothing taking me away from it. And so now life is back online. I'm socializing again, eating out a lot more, and training has suffered. I'm thinking back like, shit, I wish I still looked like I did in lockdown. But then if you took the whole package, you can't just take one part of it. You have to take the whole package. I would much rather be able to see my friends, be going out, like, everything that goes with it. So I think that's a nice way to make it make sense to yourself. Of like, you can't just pick and choose and cherry pick parts of your performance or your aesthetic or one facet of your life to have back without taking everything else that went with it. And I think you've got to let go of the past, and it's cool that you've got to that place now with your body and your training.
Yeah, definitely. Like performance is I mean, I have a great social life. I go out a lot, I eat a lot, you know, and I think I'm really transparent about that online. And Tom is exactly the same. You know, we do train hard, and we eat well, and we know how to look after ourselves, but we do also like to have fun, and we go out and we drink, and we just, I guess, I hate the word balance, but it is finding that balance. But with the balance, you have to be more accepting of your natural genetics. Like, I know I can be leaner, but one, my training is going to suffer 100%. You know, if you're dieting, your training is not coming first, which is fine. But obviously you have to know that. So my performance would suffer, and that's not something that I want right now. So, you know, I do take the fact that I will fluctuate a little bit. I obviously stay kind of the same, sometimes up, sometimes down, depending on my social life. But that's something I'm willing to take for the, you know, multitude of benefits, like having great relationships, having a great social life. Obviously never say never, but I don't think I'd ever take this professionally or anything like that. But I do like competing in fun competitions. I do like training really, really hard, but I'm willing to accept that my body is also a product of what happens outside the gym, and, you know, I'm okay with that.
I love the fact, obviously, where you say balance, and I think a lot of time people misconstrued balance as 50-50, as in it's probably not. It's closer to say 80-20, say 90-10, as in most of the time you're training hard, eating well, and then you like to sprinkle in some fun on top of that. But I think when people then think balance, they go, well, half the week I'm out, half the week I'm in, so balance, right? So no, it's right. And I think you do a good job at putting that stuff across on social media, that because whether it's a good thing or a bad thing, that social media is becoming such a powerful tool for people to look at what's going on, whether it's an educational thing or whether it's a comparison thing, whether that's a good thing or a bad thing. I think it's really good to see, say, someone like yourself in good shape, and that they train hard, they eat well, but they also live a normal life outside of that. And I think that's where that's definitely changed a lot more of late, which has been great, because it used to be everything had to be perfect that went up online. Everything you couldn't, for instance, I swear a lot, but you can't swear, you can't do this. Everything has to be PG and perfect. And it's like, then it got into the point where it's just like, actually, just be you. And if someone wants to follow you for you, and then they want to aspire to be something like you and be on a similar sort of journey to you, they can at least see everything that's included, not just the training and the eating right, but that you do like to go out and have fun with friends. And yeah, that's nice.
So, Courtney, question on that. How do you strike that balance? Because I think on the outside, I think a lot of people, when they meet someone who works in fitness, they always assume you live a perfect life. You don't go to bed after 9 p.m. You train twice a day. You don't eat anything that's not super clean. And people are always surprised to hear that I drink and I go out for burgers all the time and everything else. What is it for you that essentially lets you have your cake and eat it? Like, you're able to do all these things. Do you think it's because you train so much, or do you think it's just because you are super clean when it's easy, so that allows you to go off plan other times? Like, if you were to summarize it for the listeners, how would you describe your attitude towards that?
I think there's two parts to this, because there's a phrase I want to talk about in a moment. But, you know, first and foremost, being passionate about your training, and that doesn't have to be CrossFit, whether it's tennis or swimming, whatever it is. Being passionate about it is an intrinsic driving force. Like, no matter if I've been out a little bit hungover, haven't eaten that well, I love what I do so much that it's, and obviously this came from years of building habits. I'm not motivated all the time. You know, motivation is very elusive, but it's the habits that I've formed over such a long time, regardless of the actual training style, that it makes it feel weird for me not to do it. I always like to use the analogy of like cleaning your teeth. When you were younger, it wasn't intrinsic to clean your teeth. That was literally drilled into you by your parents. But it got drilled in so much that eventually you could skip it for a day, you could skip it for 2 days. But on that third day, you start to feel pretty weird, pretty gross. and it doesn't feel right. And I always think of like exercise as the same thing. It didn't happen overnight, but it is possible to fall in love with maybe not even it, but how it makes you feel and the impact it has on your life. So I think that for me is easier than a lot of people, especially if they're starting out, and it is hard. It doesn't feel natural yet, and they're told to trust the process and it will come in time, but you really, really do. Like, it's as simple as that. You have to show up when you don't feel it, go through the motions, keep momentum going, and it's just the act of just doing. People don't realize that if they've had three days off, they're like, oh my god, I was hungover Monday, I've had 3 days off, how am I going to get back to it? Right, I'm going to go run a marathon, I'm going to go and do a CrossFit Open workout from 2020. And it's like that expectation, they don't realize, is pushing them further away from actually making that session on Thursday. And actually what you need to do, if you've had time off or you don't feel like you've eaten well, you're just not feeling it, or you've lost your mojo, is it doesn't matter what you do, even if it's a walk, it's the act of doing keeps the momentum going for that day. And then eventually your motivation will come back because you'll start to get the endorphin releases and stuff like that. So yeah, I think that's pretty locked down for me now, and it helps that I'm so passionate about something. But in terms of like having my cake and eating it, I just think, just because I know it's possible, and it's the way I coach my clients. I haven't always had this view, but I've been doing this 6 years or so, and in the last couple of years I've realized it is possible to do it, to do everything. We all got caught up in quote clean eating at a time and things like that, and white stuff is bad, like can't eat white pasta, can't eat white bread, whatever. We've all been there, and I'm very honest about that with my clients. Again, you have to be able to relate to them, and we've all been there. And I'm pretty sure someone would be fibbing if they said they hadn't been there in some way, shape or form. So I just know it's possible to do it, and that's why I want to be truthful online and be transparent, because some would say that I train at a higher level than most gym goers, obviously not professional, but so as you said, they're shocked, like, how do you do it? And I'm like, it is 100% possible. And when you fall in love with something, it makes it that much easier.
It's funny you say that, because you talk about like your training load, and we recently had Harvey Lawton on, and people say that he trains too much, but it's not that he trains too much. He just knows his body, and he knows how hard he has to push, and he has a greater understanding of what he needs to do and what he wants to do to elicit a certain response. And I think it's funny because I think as coaches, it can really be easy to forget how normal it is to people think white food is bad, like white pasta, white rice. And because we know it as now, it's just normal stuff. We know we've moved on from that. But so much of the media and stuff like that is still spouting that type of information. And that's at the end of the day, it's the mainstream media, which is then they're coming to you because they've not got any success based off the mainstream information. So they come to you and you say, actually, you can eat white rice. You're like, what? And it's like, I'm not going to get fat. No, I can eat sushi. Yeah, god damn. And it's like, then it's a whole new experience to them. And it's that, I think it's great to have gone through that experience though of, thinking that you can only eat chicken and broccoli. And because you've also realized that it does work, but it's also extremely boring. But sometimes you can't, it depends on your goal. And if you are looking to get in the best shape possible, not necessarily only eating chicken and broccoli, but eating very similar things often help you create habits and routines that will then last, because you're rather than the sporadic, I can eat whatever I want all over the time, it just creates too much decision fatigue. Whereas when you kind of keep a lot of simplicity in your choices, it does help with consistency, whether that's for performance or for aesthetics.
It reminds me of the wagon. So I absolutely hate this idea of falling on and off a wagon. And I say this to my clients, like, firstly, like falling, the concept of being on or falling off kind of suggests that like you're not in control of your commitments in your life, which you are. And secondly, I just think it creates this like vicious perpetual cycle of falling off, feelings of defeat, lack of self-worth, feeling desperate, feeling guilty, feeling like a failure. And then you get back on with even more stricter rules and even more foods that you need to cut out and even more hours you need to go fall off again. And it just goes round and round and round. And I always say, instead of, you just don't get on the wagon. The best way to fall off is don't get on it. There is no wagon. you've got, you know, one path, which is your life, and there's no going backwards, there's no falling off. You either move forwards or you pause. And, you know, the days you don't make the gym, the days you weren't happy with your nutritional choices, even a week went by without reading a book like you said you wanted to, you've just paused momentarily, and you're totally in control of tomorrow moving forwards again. And I think that's, I guess, controversially, I know, because a lot of people use that phrase, like, on and off the wagon, but I literally despise it just as much as I despise the term bulky as well.
Why don't you like the word bulky?
Oh, I just think we should send whoever created that to the moon. Honestly, I think, you know, on a serious note, it is literally the reason that so many females are missing out on the incredible, almost life-changing benefits of strength training. Beyond strength training, even functional fitness, like with its community and everything. And I just hate the thought that there are so many females missing out on, you know, what I have in my life because of the scaremongering and you know, marketing ploys to get people to buy skinny products and all that rubbish. And, you know, bulky is thrown around so much, and so many females don't understand like how hard it actually is for a woman to bulk. I've been doing CrossFit functional fitness for 3 years. Before that, I trained pretty hard in, like, a bit, dabbled in some strongman, did some bodybuilding, have built some muscle, but I'm still the same dress size. And I'm not that doesn't matters, because if you have changed dress size, that's totally fine too. But what I'm saying is, like, it's a very active pursuit to get bulky, and it takes a lot of time, a lot of science, a lot of food. It's expensive. Like, it's a real pursuit. And I think because of you know, these marketing scams, basically, females are afraid that actually that's really, really easy, and it's the weights that's the issue, not actually the food that goes in around the weights, and, you know, your energy balance and things like that. And I just, you know, that's why I'm a huge advocate for female strength training. Like, it's incredible. It boosts your mood, it helps you sleep better. In most cases, it you know, boosts your confidence. It's not even just like the hour in the gym and the endorphin rush. It's the impact that hour has on the rest of your day and life. Even feeling like you're capable of more, and confidence boost. It goes beyond just like having an endorphin rush. And also, I've met a lot of females recently who message me online saying, you know, they don't know where to make friends. They've just come to London and they have no one. And I empathise with that, because when I left dance school, I didn't really keep in contact with many people for reasons. And I felt pretty alone. And then I started strength training, which led me to functional fitness, which led me to coming to WIT. And I met my partner, who I've been with for 3 years. I now have a business with him. I've met all my best friends. There's a group of 12 of us. And I would never, ever have met any people. And it really has, like, changed my life. And I hate the thought of some people potentially never experiencing that just because they're afraid to get bulky.
It's amazing. I think that's a really inspiring way of talking about it. The thing, almost, it annoys me, but it also makes me laugh that if girls are so worried about getting bulky, they should just talk to guys who are trying to get bulky and let them explain how hard it is. Like, there's plenty of like hard gainers who could set them straight and be like, listen, I've been trying this for a long time and I can't get bulky to save my life. So it's not as easy as I think it is. Great. Courtney, I also wanted to talk about so we've referenced your sort of evolution in training. So we've got from the dance through the cardio and stretching into the bodybuilding. Let's bring it back to, like, what was it post-comp that led you to want to try the functional training, and how has your approach to functional training evolved over the last few years?
I guess I was just bored of looking at myself in the mirror, bored of the same old movements. Not to say that bodybuilding doesn't have variety, because it does, but I was just bored. Like, it wasn't giving me anything anymore, and I didn't feel a rush after training. Yeah, I was just bored. So I started online looking at functional fitness stuff, seeing people tag people and following people, and I realized there was this whole new world that I'd never even stepped foot in. And I went and then kind of did a few classes. I'm talking like Ministry of Sound and some things at KXU, not CrossFit. And then I did a Turf Games competition in January and I literally died. There is a photo of me that's like the poster girl for someone's first ever fitness comp. And I was like literally hand on chest, basically screaming after a run because I never ran, never got on ergs. It was a shock to the system. But weirdly, guess the competitive nature in me, I was like, no, I need to get better at this. Like, there's no way I'm ever going to feel this way again. I was humiliated. And yeah, so I then discovered WIT, and it wasn't far from where my studio was in Elephant. So I basically booked in, cancelled, and did that for about 2-3 months because I was too scared to come, basically. And then, yeah, eventually went and took my first class and just never looked back. I loved it. I literally loved it. I loved that there were no mirrors in the box. Like, that was just a huge thing as well. No one was standing there looking at themselves. You know, people weren't, well, there were people in the zone, but, you know, they were present, and there was like a community feel, even just people training by themselves. It wasn't just about you, and like you're focusing on your body as well. And I found that incredible. And also just like how many different things there were going on, how many different skills, how many different avenues. Obviously it's an umbrella, for those who don't know, of loads of different training styles. You've got fitness stuff, you know, bike, ski, run, row, then you've got Olympic lifting, then you've got functional bodybuilding or bodybuilding elephants, you've got gymnastics. And I just found that incredible. I just was like a kid in a sweet shop.
What was your first class at WIT?
I think I just took a lunchtime,
Just WOD
I
class?
think it was like a Tuesday class. Yeah, so there was a bit of strength, which was pull-ups, and obviously coming from bodybuilding, I was like, okay, I can do this. Yeah, I got a few pull-ups, so this is fine. Just strict stuff, and then it was like some handstand push-up work, and because I used to break dance, I was used to being like upside down and on my head, so I only got a couple, but I kind of clicked with the handstand push-up stuff straight away. So in theory, it was probably a great first class for me to take.
So looking at that and trying to think about how someone else is, because having that essentially being scared to go to your first, say, CrossFit class, whether that's WIT or whatever, is quite a common thing, because I think we see the extremes, and we see, like, even when you go to the class and you see the people that are doing like the big bar muscle ups and all these things, you're like, wow, I can't even do a pull up. So you get quite intimidated. Now, did you choose that class because it was pull-ups and you thought, do you know what, I can do that? And is that something that you'd recommend for someone maybe thinking about their first CrossFit class, to maybe look at the week and look at something they're relatively good at and think about maybe go to that, which then gets me in my kind of comfort zone, and then I can be pushed outside of it in a different way?
I think that depends on your personality, about knowing yourself. You know, some people thrive off a challenge and some people are put off. And obviously that's the thing with being a coach. You realize that, you know, there are so many different personalities and everyone needs something different, and you obviously have to be able to adapt to that. So if you've got to know yourself as a person. For me, it was just because I went with someone called Waz, I think you know him. He said, right, we're doing this class, and I was like, fine, go. So I didn't actually look, but I knew that just because I had a foundation in training, I couldn't be so far put off. But I think it depends. If you are someone that feels like that, then yeah, definitely pick something that you think you're not going to be too far out of your comfort zone if you're not going to thrive off that. But then at the same time, I think it's important. The overriding thing is to, as you said, let go of those extremes and any misconceptions and who you think is training at a box. And I always say to my clients, or we have a lot of members leave us, but to go to boxes. And for us, you know, we're not sad about that. That was our end goal. We proved to these people that functional fitness is not scary and anyone can do it. And if you're now taking it to the next step to join a box and take their classes, like, you know, we've done our job. That's great. And I think that we got to let go of the idea that it's just for people that want to take it seriously or, you know, train 5 times a week. And actually, I say to my clients, you'll be surprised. The people you find doing the classes, the majority of them are the people that aren't doing their own training in open gym or out of hours. So the majority of them are people that go for community, go to be healthy, go to have fun, to meet people. You're not going to find a lot of professional athletes in those classes because they have their own training to be doing. And that's what I say, like, to have confidence in booking in. And also the other thing is that letting go of expectation. You know, I always say scaling is not failing. Scaling exists for you to get the possible for you at that time. Can't do something, you're not moving, you're not building. If you can't complete more than 2 reps and there's 20 reps, it's not doing anything for you. So that's why scaling exists. And I think it's just focusing and reminding yourself of all these things. It's not scary. It's not just for the elite. And there is something for everyone to enjoy the class. And I'm yet to go to a box where there aren't coaches that are fantastic at making everyone feel like they can achieve something, that they're going to have a great workout and ultimately feel comfortable.
Amazing. I think that's some really, really good advice for anybody who's on the cusp of starting out. Do you have any other nuggets that you might, or things that you wish you knew when you were starting out that you know now, considering you've had so much experience and, you know, you've evolved in sort of your understanding of training? What do you think, what would you like to say to yourself just coming out of dance school with your cardio and stretching? If you could give yourself a piece of advice.
I guess on a professional level, that it's totally okay to stay in your own lane as a coach. You know, there are so many different arms to coaching, whether it's sport specific, movement specialists, working with athletes, Olympians, working with everyday people. I think when you're hungry and you're new and you're somewhat underconfident, especially being a female in the space and more so the functional space, but it's okay to stay in your lane. You don't have to compete with people who are in completely different lanes to you. And that doesn't mean you don't progress as a coach. You still need to educate yourself. There's new information coming out all the time. You still need to talk to people, chat to people you look up to, develop yourself as a coach, but you don't have to, you know, be anything other than the thing that you want to be and pursue. And I think that was a real realization for me, especially in the last couple of years, because I think being a coach online is obviously great. Having a following is really beneficial for being a coach, but it can be a double-edged sword if you let it, because obviously you're more maybe in the spotlight than another coach that is not. So you do tend to doubt yourself more. And that's something that I've definitely struggled with. And for the last couple of years, I think especially moving into like, you know, not working for anyone and having my own businesses and my own clients and things. But I guess I would just wish, you know, that I could just say like, that's okay. Like, you're good at what you do and you don't have to go elsewhere if you don't want to. Still educate yourself, still develop. But yeah, you can stick with what you're good at, basically. So that's what I would say on a professional level. And then I guess just a personal level, I just wish I started functional fitness sooner. I wish I joined a box when I was 16, seriously. I love it so much. And I feel like, I have no regrets because, you know, I am where I am now and it's amazing. And I love what I do. I love the people I've met, the relationships I've built, and where I'm at, you know, on a performance level. But I do wish that I didn't wait so long. I wish I'd found it first, because I really do think it's life-changing.
There you have it. So just because you've obviously now ventured into this, you know, the functional fitness space, and I guess your essentially thoughts on what fitness has changed over this, like your whole fitness career. What is fitness now to you? So it's something we like to ask our guests, and I think it'd be really interesting because you've had quite a diverse fitness portfolio, some similar to myself, and I did some breakdancing, but I wasn't necessarily to your level. But what is fitness now to you?
So fitness to me, I guess specifically to what I'm doing is, you know, being adequate enough at the skills and the lifts that I need to do to be able to do these competitions and do well, so perform well in all areas. I guess just being, well-rounded fit, that's specific. But in terms of day-to-day, relative to the physical aspect, is, you know, just being like fit for life. Like, I have you playing football, running around with him, you know, knowing I can climb a mountain. If someone says, hey, do you want to climb a mountain tomorrow? I'd be like, yeah, let's do it. 3 Peaks challenge. Let's go. I'm not going to die. Being able to just cycle, and obviously a lot of the skills in CrossFit, you know, don't necessarily translate outside of competitions and the box. But I do think it offers you things physically, because you're constantly, there's so many things to do that work fitness. And I do think, you know, like even being able to like, we moved house in lockdown, and Tom and I did all the furniture together, really heavy stuff, but we had no choice. We had to hire a van and do it ourselves. And I didn't struggle. I wasn't in pain. Like, it was fine. So I think day-to-day things like that, just being fit to like run for a bus, run from a tiger, you never know, whatever it is. And then in terms of another side of fitness is also like mental fitness for me. Something that I guess I really realized in lockdown. I was so busy, as all PTs are starting out, coaching classes, online, one-to-one PT, different studios, different places, running around London all day, 7 days a week, and barely having time to stop. And when I stopped in lockdown, I realized, you know, I did have probably some anxieties that I hadn't really taken the time to sit with and understand. And especially as I touched on before about being a coach in the industry, and sometimes feeling a bit like an imposter. I know those feelings are natural, but those are things that I had to really work on. And I realized how much training wasn't just about the numbers I was getting, the skills I was developing. I realized in lockdown how much it affects my mental fitness, and how much I need that to be my optimal self, and to, you know, be in a better place. And I think like the mental fitness for me is a huge side of it. And I think, so I would break it off into two arms. You've got physical fitness, in that you've got kind of the skills specific to what I'm doing, and then day-to-day physical fitness. And then the mental fitness, one arm being how it makes me feel, how it affects my mood, which then obviously translates into the decisions I make, and being confident to take opportunities and things like that. And also just like the positive side of what it gives me, what fitness gives me mentally, is like feeling like I can do things out of my comfort zone, saying yes to things that I would normally, you know, my inner self would say, oh no, I can't do that. So yeah, I just think it gives you so many mental benefits that you will only experience when it's like truly ingrained in your life.
Beautifully put.
Yeah, incredible. Courtney, can you tell us a bit more about the breakdancing and your rap career, please?
My rap career? Oh no. Wait,
I've got some inside info.
Let me guess, Tom.
Correct.
Yeah, when I was, I was actually a bit of like a chav basically in this music video. I was like 15, and it was I can't remember what it is. I have to share it with you at a later date. But it was a Vimeo, and it was my first professional job at 15, and I was basically miming this song. I was basically this person, and I think it was filmed in on like an estate in Bermondsey, and I'm like giving it all this attitude, and I've got big hoops and like a side pony and trackies, and then I had to do some like dancing in it, and there was a break dancer at the time. It was really good. I think you saw like Britain's Got Talent. Anyway, that was one and done, and I don't show many people because that was a long time ago.
We'll link it in the show
yeah,
notes.
I used to. Yeah, okay. Maybe I won't send it to you. I might send it again.
That's brilliant. And she also told me that you've had an illustrious career in driving as well. Could you tell the listeners the story there, please?
I feel like the whole story will have to be off the podcast. But yeah, I was learning to drive in my mum's car, and I basically drove it into the garage door, and then panicked, and then forgot which one was accelerate, which one was brake. No. So I basically kept going in total panic. You know, in like films when they say rabbit in the headlights, like why are you freezing? Just like I just froze, and like I couldn't move, and I was just going back and forward, and eventually the garage door just came off its hinges like an electric door, and the car basically totaled.
Oh god!
And I told obviously my parents found out, and let's just say I had to work a few summers at dance school to pay them back for the damage.
That's brilliant.
That is brilliant.
So go on,
Go on, Rob. I was just going to say, we're just getting close to time. So before we go, please could you tell us more about the Ultimate You? How does it work? And also the experience of working with Tom. How does that go?
Oh, let's start with Tom one, shall
Yeah.
we? um, yeah. So do you know what? We work well together. It's not perfect. It's not easy, but I don't believe that it isn't possible to live and work with your partner. And also, we do a lot together. We even train together. Obviously, we have space, and we know the importance of personal space, but it can work when you're both very like-minded. You know, we're best mates. We have a great relationship. We share the same passions and visions, and I think it is possible. But you've got to put strategies in place. Like the hardest thing is communication. It's very easy when you're both very passionate. Like we don't argue, but we bicker about like, you know, movement selection, like workouts and things like that because we're passionate about it. And it's just important for us. We had to put we have like a code word that we say if an argument gets heated. We say jelly snakes, because it kind of reminds you that you're talking to a colleague 9 to 5 and not your partner. Okay, so you wouldn't speak to your boss that way. You wouldn't speak to a coworker. You wouldn't raise your voice. You wouldn't stand up and walk away. You would remain calm. God, it sounds like it's very turbulent. It's not that bad. But as if something did get a little bit heated or we disagreed, we have to remind ourselves that we're in 9 to 5. You know, that is my colleague, my co-founder, and not my partner. And the way we've managed to build on that is definitely having a cut off. I think the hardest thing is for us is well, it's not hard, I love it, but you have to be in control of managing. We do the social media side of things, and we have an online business, and then we have our own clients, so you are on your phone a lot, and so it's easy, like past, say you clock off at 6-7 o'clock, if you're still on your phone for personal stuff, it's easy to then be like, oh, did you see that workout? That's a really good idea. And we have to stop ourselves doing that, because then there's no lines. And then how do we expect to communicate better in the day if, you know, we're lying in bed and I go, what do you think about this for an Mom? And it's just like and trust me, we do it sometimes where we have to check ourselves and be like, no, nothing about programming until 9 o'clock tomorrow morning. So yeah, it's great. We still work on it. Anything worth having takes work. So yeah, we're just definitely conscious of that. We've gone through the ups. We're in the ups. We've gone through the downs to get to the ups. So we now know how to kind of just work optimally together. But yeah, so basically the Ultimate You is an online training offering. So we have it's functional fitness. So we have 4 different programs. We have something for everyone. I think we started this business in lockdown and continued it because we realized there are so many people that want to access fitness, and it should be available to everyone, but not everyone has the means for one-to-one training and tailored coaching and even group classes, especially in London. And we understood that from lockdown, from the sheer volume of people we had doing our bodyweight classes. So we decided to continue out of lockdown and create 4 different programs, basically having something for everyone. So we have the minimalist, which is dumbbells, kettlebells only. You can literally do it with one dumbbell or kettlebell. So that for people that prefer to train at home, who invested in dumbbells in lockdown, or people that go to the gym at really busy times. They just train to feel good and they just want to, you know, get a good workout in. Then we have Train, which is, I guess, our signature program. So basically for those who love performing well, kind of your everyday avid gym goer, but really loves focusing on performance. So all your main lifting, functional bodybuilding, fitness, a little bit of gymnastics in there. And then we have the Pro, which is pretty much the same as Train, but we include more gymnastic skills, not advanced. You know, it's not CrossFit. We don't have muscle ups and things like that. But we have Olympic lifting and, you know, Metcons and things like that. So yeah, 4 different programs. Our 4th one is just the hybrid, which is a combination of Train and the minimalist for people that sometimes train at home and sometimes go to the gym.
Amazing. And where can they find out more about you and the Ultimate You?
Well, if you follow me on Instagram, my handle is Courtney Pruce. So all the links are in my bio, or our website is www.theultimateyou.me.
Brilliant. That's been an incredible chat. Thank you so much for your time, Courtney. We really enjoyed it. And I think the listeners will have a lot of takeaways on so many different things. So yeah, really pleased to
Thank you for your time.
Amazing. Thank you so much for having me, guys.
Thank you, Courtney. That was amazing. It was really good to see and hear about your journey into the functional fitness sphere. And, you know, I do remember you coming to WIT at the start when you first started your journey, and it's amazing to see how far you've come along that journey. If you did find that episode inspiring, or you took some really cool little nuggets away from it, which I'm sure you did like I did, please share it with someone that you might think will benefit. Share with some friends on social media. Don't forget to tag us and tag Courtney and the Ultimate You. And as always, you know, if you did enjoy the episode and you're on Apple Podcasts, do leave us a review. A cheeky 5-star wouldn't go amiss. If you want to support the show, you can head over to YouTube and subscribe to the channel. That will help us a lot. And also, just as always, we have our show sponsors, which is WIT Fitness. If you use the code LL15, you get 15% off purchase. And also, we have our blood flow restriction apparel discount with Hydro. Use the code LL20 for 20% off. But if you didn't want to remember any of that, just head over to our website, lungeandlift.com. You can get all the interesting information, our 4 best deadlift accessories you're not doing download for free, all our recommendations and everything else. So thank you very much for your time as always, and we'll see you next week.
Thanks, guys.